Hello, I'm Diana Spencer, and thank you for joining me on this research certificate endeavor. I am Diana Spencer. I'm an associate professor here at TCC, and I'm the George Kaiser Endowed Chair of Research. I am going to share some of our best tools and practices that we've learned through the years, and much of that information is informed through several groups that I want to identify. I've been able to be a counselor on the National Council on Undergraduate Research for the last 6 years, and I have been able to be a co-PI with a wonderful group of individuals from the Community College Undergraduate Research Initiative. And finally, I've been able to work with Oklahoma Embry, that's an NIH grant, increasing the bioscience capacity in community colleges across the state. So I serve as the Endowed Chair of Research, and thank you for joining us on this certificate. We have many reasons to believe that undergraduate research is very good for students. It involves very early on active involvement. So we like to grab them in these first 2 years, and it helps faculty members and students stay involved and energized. We also have done some work on interdisciplinary research, where we have worked with faculty across the disciplines to develop projects. So I would like to share with you how I define undergraduate research, but my goal today is for you to help you define undergraduate research within your class. Sometimes I feel like it's standing on the cliff on the side of a mountain. Now, I really like to hike, and I also am afraid of heights. So when I'm standing on the edge of a cliff, I feel like I'm just much more energized and much more focused and much more interested in my footing. And I find undergraduate research to be similar to that, in that a student needs to be more focused on each step of the protocol or the activity that they're doing. They need to be more focused on the data. And for me, as a faculty member, it just energizes me when we do work that I don't know what the answers are going to be. So there are many different goals to undergraduate research. These are some of my favorite: creating entrepreneurial citizens. We certainly see personal development of the student. It fosters independence and allows the students to analyze data. Much of the work is a precursor to their career. Helps the student develop their literacy skills and to solve problems. And of course, critical thinking is very important. Probably the most visual for me is when I see the students grow in confidence, and that usually happens when they are presenting research in a forum, usually for us in a scientific forum, that they are speaking to peers or colleagues or other professors, and they have to bring in their A game, and that presentation creates that. Now, for me, the most important word on the screen is wonder. I want my students to leave my classroom better able to see the world around them, wonder about the world around them, and develop questions that they can answer. Now, this is a busy screen, and in your folder, I'm going to include a link to this article. This is one of my favorite articles, The 10 Salient Practices of Undergraduate Research Mentors. There are many pieces to this. We'll just look at a few of these, but I will want you to return back to the PDF and look at these and find out where your goals are and where you think you might improve or what you're already doing is correct. It does take a lot of pre-planning, and throughout this whole series of slides, I want to talk to you about how we develop these things through the semester and then through the years. I like to develop well scaffolded expectations that you have of your students at the beginning of a course or a curriculum will be different than what you have at the end of the course or the curriculum. We focus in on the skills and the techniques and the methods that we already had in our curriculum that we wanted the students to learn. Of course, I believe in very rigorous expectations, but sometimes we find that we have to pull back a bit. If the students are getting too uptight and too nervous and you find that you've presented too much to them, it's always a good idea to pull back and help them feel supported. There are many different parts to this, and I will want you to return to this, but this paper is written by some of the best in the nation, so please look at that. Now, one of the things that we did in the Curry group, the Community College Undergraduate Research Initiative, is that we developed a survey of students or faculty that were doing well with their students in their different schools across the nation. And we said, if you were going to give advice to a brand new researcher at a community college, what are the lessons that you have learned while you have been successful? So I have about 5 slides of that. First, inventory what you're already doing, what is already in process, what you already want as a goal. Look at those activities and look and see maybe you could convert that into an inquiry investigation. Again, scaffold the experiences, maybe within your classroom, but with the other courses within the program. And then I love this start small. Start small. Do 1 or 2 new steps, and then the next semester you can add to that. More faculty across the nation, again, said integrate it into your courses because that's the most low-cost, sustainable way of doing research projects. Embedded is the most sustainable. We call this embedded research. Look at the competencies that are already within your curriculum and then develop projects, often projects that have to do with the community and the students are interested in, and they're interested in sharing their information. I call this nudge guide decision making. You can give the students as much freedom as you want them to have or as little. Be aware of the time commitment. Break the project into parts. I assign portions of each piece of research that I do with my students. Sometimes they turn in parts that I grade individually, and sometimes they work together on that final project as a group. And I will show you within the curriculum of this certificate specific ways that I do that. And then please have the students present. I think the most beneficial is if you have a venue that is outside of the classroom. Sometimes that's not possible. Outside the classroom in TCC, we have worked very hard to provide some free opportunities for your students to present. Overcome that procrastination, both on the part of yourself and the student, with defined deadlines. Again, develop a philosophy. Research is teaching. Have the students involved in as many aspects of the process as you can. Have the students communicate their work. Dream big, be comfortable with failures. And one of the things that we say in my classroom is learn to fail quickly. Learn to get a project to a point that you know you've got secure data before you move forward. And be comfortable with learning as you progress. I love this term, improvisational flexibility. We can call this very organic learning in the classroom. This makes me giggle every time I see it because that really is what I think is teaching on your feet, really good teaching. Again, research is teaching. And part of this is just standing on the cliff and not knowing what the results are going to be, but you're prepared enough that you can get yourself down off of that cliff with the proper tools and techniques. It's also fun to solve problems with your students. Now, this is a very interesting slide, and I would tell you to return to this one. Lopato out of Grinnell University for many years made it available, a pre and post survey for students doing research. They could grade themselves on a number of activities. My particular students are in green. Students across the nation that have done similar research experiences are in blue. And so my students graded themselves well. They felt confident in the goals that they had attained. I know this is hard to read, so I typed over here the different materials that they look at, the different parameters that they look at, and there is nothing there that we don't all try to do within our teaching. A tolerance for obstacles, being able to understand real problems, being able to work together, self-confidence, career precursor. They looked at all of those activities. Now, when you develop your own project, look at the techniques you want your students to understand. Look at the literary skills. Also include the broader impacts of helping those students be a more educated citizenry, that they really understand how this relates to current news that they might read in the newspaper or see on their computer feeds. Use something that was previously defined as a goal, and then if you come up with one that fills all of those techniques, you can then do multiple investigations semester after semester with the similar goals, learning goals, the similar objectives, but maybe with a different slant on the exact topic, and that makes it fun for everyone. Again, concentrate on growth with each year. I did want to share the research work that I do with my intro class in our particular program is different than the research group that we do with our students on their last class before they graduate with us. So it is scaffolded and start small. Now, this is a slide that is power-packed. Again, I will want you to return to this because this will help you define what you want to do in your classroom. There is a continuum on many different projects when you look at these potential decisions that you're going to be making. Is your project going to be student process centered? Or is it going to be outcome centered? Is it going to be faculty initiated? Or are you going to have the student come up with the process? Are you going to include all of your students, or are you going to have a select group? And what I'm going to ask you to do is try to put a point on each of these continuums of where you see the work that you're doing, and then you'll be able to see your own personal identification of research that will work within your classroom. We've made many tools available. They're online. We've got a student research website. We've got a faculty research website. One of the things that we have is a database that faculty voluntarily filled out, and they have presented many different things. It's a wonderful place to visit. This particular TCC faculty uses secondary sources to develop research questions. This particular faculty uses a teaching garden and a Monarch Way station to collect data. This sociologist looks at Tulsa's social problems and Tulsa's responses to those problems, and this faculty member looks at ethnographic research on subcommunities in Tulsa. All incredible things. We also provide workshops. We provide these workshops. They are the Research Externship Applications Workshop. We call them REACH. We provide 2 of these in the fall and 2 in the spring so that students can prepare applications for apprenticeships or internships. So please get your students to that. This is an old flyer, so the people will change, but we will continue on with this opportunity. We provide it at the Metro campus and the Southeast campus. And then we have this wonderful learning community. We call it Search and Aspire, and this community comes together to develop different research investigations that they work on together. It's a vibrant group. We'd love to have you join us. We meet once a month. The minutes are online. So there's much here, and we'll be having you do some activities, but I appreciate your time, and if you'd like to talk to me personally, please call me, email me, and we'll see what we can do. Thank you for your time.